Back to this Hannity special. Liberal cities all over the country have been in downward spiral since the beginning of the pandemic. Strict stay-at-home orders have hit the economy and small business owners hard. In Los Angeles, the city is expected to furlough 15,000 employers, Mayor Eric Garcetti included. With unemployment, the murder rate, and homelessness on the rise, LA residents are running out of reasons to stay, other than the weather, prompting a mass exodus of celebrities and wealthy elites to faraway suburbs or other states. So what does this mean for the Americans left behind? Joining me now are Fox News contributors Emily Compagno and Lisa Boothe. Thank you both for joining us. Lisa, I want to start with you. I grew up in part in Los Angeles. I love the City of Angels, but I got to tell you, they're destroying that city unnecessarily.
Well, absolutely. And I'm one of those people left behind, not in Los Angeles, but in New York City. And if your objective, I mean, if you look at some of these mayors, if your objective was to destroy a city and make it as unlivable as possible, what different things would you do other than what we've seen mayors like Bill de Blasio and governors like Andrew Cuomo do? I mean, even just look here in New York City. So you have Governor Cuomo and Bill de Blasio. They shut down the city because of COVID, but yet you mandate nursing homes to take in the elderly and the sick patients. And then at a time where we're seeing rioting, you let it go on. And at a time we're seeing violence, and then you cut $1 billion from the NYPD budget. You get rid of the incredibly effective plainclothes unit. So if it's not the COVID that destroys the city, it's the crime that you're allowing to go on. So, I mean, literally, if your desire was to just completely destroy a city, what different things would you do?
Emily, you've spent time in California. I know you live in Seattle. You love that city, but these cities used to be iconic, and now they're kind of the laughing stock, and it's a joke. And it's really, at the end of the day, it's ultimately sad because there's a lot of good people there, friends, relatives, loved ones, and it's not a place I want to go visit anytime soon.
That's exactly right, Jason. And I grew up there, and I've already moved from California, and it breaks my heart to see the state crumble. But the reality is that California's fiscal rot has been a slow-motion train wreck for years. And the state sees residents' income as the state's income. That's why they've now proposed a wealth tax on worldwide assets, not just the assets in California. Why the state has proposed an income tax that is astronomical over the existing income tax. And keep in mind, too, to piggyback on what Lisa was talking about in terms of the deterioration of the interior of these cities, LA County saw a 13% increase in homeless just this year. The city saw a 16% increase just this year, and that's on top of the mayor allocating a $10.6 billion budget that broke records. Last year, $430 million of which went to cover the homeless situation. Clearly, it didn't work. The issue is that California's over-obligation across multiple industries is leading to this financial hemorrhaging as we are all watching it sink. And the state trying to claw back income from its residents isn't working. They are wisening up, and that's why the residents are moving.
And Lisa, this was all pre-COVID. COVID certainly exacerbated the situation, but these policies that these liberals were putting into place that gave rise to the rise in murder rates and homelessness, that happened well before.
Well, it did in a lot of these cities, but obviously it's gotten worse because of COVID. It's gotten worse because of the crime, and it's gotten worse because some of the policy decisions that we're seeing these cities make. But I think one thing that's different now than we've seen, previous when we saw a mass exodus from the cities, like even if you look at the late 1960s, is because of COVID, you've had so many companies and employers realize, look, I don't have to live in New York City to get the job done. I don't have to have my employees based out of cities like Los Angeles or New York City to get the job done. So why am I paying an enormous amount of money for the buildings, for rent there, or even as an individual, why am I paying an enormous amount of money here in New York City to literally live in a shoebox, to not be safe taking the subway because a woman was almost raped at 11 a.m. At 63 in Lexington, which is an incredibly nice part of the neighborhood. So you're not even safe anymore. You're paying an enormous amount of money to live here. So I think a lot of people are asking asking that question of themselves. Why am I even living here?